Hello, everyone. I'm Ted Barron. I'm here on behalf of the staff of the DeBartle Performing Arts Center. Anthony Monta unfortunately had to leave tonight, but we are so thrilled to welcome back our guest and to hear her talk about her wonderful film, Miss Margarethe von Trotta. We got some thumbs up in the back row. That's good. I'll just, we're going to open this up to questions. I'll walk around if people have specific questions, but I'll just start off. I had the pleasure of having dinner with Ms. von Trotta tonight, and Hitchcock came up as a topic of discussion. And unwittingly, because I hadn't yet seen the film, not realizing how strongly Hitchcock's work would play into some of the ideas that you were exploring in this film. So I wonder, just as an influence, if you could talk about whether that was something deliberate. And that is on right now.
Not deliberate here, I think not anymore, because he was one of my masters when I had still the wish to become a film director. I had two masters. That was, one was Ingmar Bergman and the other one was Hitchcock. And I did a lot of films, several films, where I used to always two persons, and they could have been one, a little bit in the Jungian principle. And but I wanted to tell you a little bit what's all about, if you want to know the background of this story for me. My second film I did, perhaps some of you have seen it, but I did it in '79, so it's a long time ago. And it was called Sisters or Balance of Happiness. And during I wrote it, and I really was sitting in front of a white page, and I didn't know what to write, and just I opened like zip here and let it flow, and that this story of the two sisters come out, and the one sister I called Maria, and the other one I called Anna in the script, and I always thought I have to change that. That's too biblical. That's too old-fashioned, and it was stronger than me. I couldn't do that. So I did the film, and during the shooting of the film, a documentary was made of me, and there for the first time I spoke about my mother. I told that my mother was already 42 when I was born, that she was not married, so I have the name of my mother, and other things. And so this, after the film, after I did the film, two months later, my mother died. And she had Alzheimer in the end, like this mother here. And the film, the documentary about me, was shown several months afterwards. And after that, I had a letter from a woman who asked me if my mother, her first name was Elisabeth, and she was born in Moscow, things I didn't say in the interview. And I wrote back, yeah, that's true, and my mother died, and she had Alzheimer at the end, and if she has to say something, because I loved very much my mother, I was so fond, and I would like to know everything about her, and please, if you have something to tell me, tell me. And she wrote back, I'm your sister. And I was so close to my mother. We were always living together. My father died when I was 10, but he was also married with another woman. So we had such a close relationship that for me it was like a terrible shock that she didn't say me such a important thing for her. And it took me a long while to understand that perhaps she didn't tell me because she was suffering. I think she suffered a lot because she had to give her first child away because she was too poor, and she was. Then I heard that from the sister of my mother, that in this time, when she was pregnant, but the sister didn't know nothing. My mother had told to nobody that she was fiancée to a man, but he left her because she was only a poor noble woman and she didn't bring nothing into the marriage and so, and she stood, I imagine she stood there with this child and she gave it to adoption, and she never saw, I think she never saw it again. So then I met my sister, and her second name is Anna and my second name is Maria. And so you can understand, but maybe unconsciously I knew already that I had this sister. And I went to a psychoanalyst because I had to understand, and she said that that's very possible, because when a child is very young, still before a child can speak, normally they have a connection, telepathic connection to the mother, and there is also an essay of Sigmund Freud where he describes that he had a séance with a woman and they spoke about her dream, and in her dream a medal, a coin was very important, and they spoke the whole séance about this meaning of the coin. And the mother comes back home and her 2-year-old boy brings her the coin. So this was for him the proof that there exists a link or something flowing between mother and child. So when I then met my sister, she was much more looking than my mother than I did. So it was like a sort of resurrection, even if my mother was older than my sister, sure, but my remembrance of my mother when she was young, that was exactly that. And I tried to put it here in the film, and when Katja Riemann sees her sister for the first time in the restaurant, and she recognizes her mother, and her mother just died, and she starts to cry and has to go out, and because she can't stand that ressemblance, no, to, and yeah, it's the mother who didn't remember, because sometimes I thought perhaps my mother had Alzheimer in the end, that she wanted really to forget everything. But when she was ill, she sometimes asked me, "Where is your sister? And how is your sister?" And I said, "I don't know." That's I always thought she meant her own sister, because she had a sister. So I thought yes, that she's well, etc. But afterwards, after her death, and that was also a tragic point for me, that I couldn't ask her nothing, and even if she would have still been alive, I couldn't have asked her nothing. So that was a sort of burden I took with me for years, and now in a way, even if it's another story, it's not one-to-one, it's only some points which are similar, but not the whole story. So I added a lot to you saw that. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that.
When Sophie first goes to bed, the man, I'm afraid I've forgotten his name, says, "You're so German." And then she comes back to him. Why?
Gosh, because nobody of us wants to be so German.
But why is that German? Because of course, if one wanted to make a fanciful argument about the film, one would say the film is only possible with two Germanys and two sisters.
Oh yeah?
Oder?
Yeah, okay, that's fine. No, but I just think that Germans are always so strict, and they're punctual, and they're, you know, and she goes first. She goes to bed with him because she wants him to make the connection. But then also she likes it, because you don't go to bed with somebody you are really only detesting. So there was already something, but still. And when he said that, for me it's always an argument. No, don't be so German. I immediately try to be a little bit more relaxed, let's say.
Don't you think that you have made a wonderful film that only beauty can reveal, about truth and forgiveness, and this is the connection you have also with your Hannah Arendt?
Yes, sure, and it's perhaps I forgave my mother now with this film. Maybe. I want forgiveness, and I want a hope, and I want not that people are staying away from each other and having so many secrets. It's so hurting to have so many secrets.
You've told us a lot in the past couple of days while you've been here about how Barbara Sukowa prepares for a role, that she really spends months getting into it. So while I was watching this, knowing that Barbara Sukowa has lived in New York for a long time, I was wondering whether she's not playing herself a little bit in this movie.
Barbara? She had a lot of difficulties with this part, because she was, with my last films, she was so used to have an example she could then go with. Hildegard von Bingen, she studied everything. Hannah Arendt, she studied her, and she studied her pronunciation, and so she could put herself in total in other character, but she could also study this other character. Here she was really dependent on herself. And therefore, I in the beginning, in the script, I wanted her to sing Schönberg, and what she's really singing, and also in life, and she didn't want to do that. She wanted to put it a little bit away from herself. So we put her in the opera. She's not singing opera. That was not her voice in the opera. The other moments this was always her voice, but not in the opera. So she forced me to give her such another, so she could be a little bit distant from, not to identify too much with. But I think she's wonderful too in this year, very, very severe and strict in the beginning, because she already, for me, she also felt that there was something wrong, perhaps, with that is not all the true story with her mother. And when she tells then her sister Sophie that when she was young, she had sometimes the feeling that, even if she was not told, but she had the feeling that her mother was not her real mother. And that my sister told me, that she already was 18, she was depressive, and she had the feeling that she was not the real child. And she was only informed from her adoptive parents when she was adult. Was in this time you were only with 21 years. You came to adult. Your adult. So I took that from her too, and I think you know everything. And even if your parents are lying or telling, so you feel it. You can't express it, but you feel it. And therefore today, I think parents or adoptive parents are advised that they tell their adoptive child very early that they are adopted. Because in any case, the children feel it, and then they feel uncomfortable.
Question here?
Yes, thank you so much for that wonderful film. And in addition to the very moving story about truth and forgiveness, I also thought it was extraordinary how much the music played a role in this film. And you told us at the beginning that both of the actresses are themselves singers, and I was curious whether that was in some ways the reason, or at least it allowed you to write the movie to be so centrally, in some ways, featuring their voices and music, or whether you wanted to have these characters as singers, and it just happened that these actresses were able to play that role, and had they not been able to, you might have had to cast other people in the role. And I'm struck too just that in talking about the sort of severity of the one sister, that she's the opera singer, and Sophie is singing much more the sort of torch songs, and it's much more sort of demonstratively emotional. So the music is so central to also showing their characters, and I'm just curious about how you made the decision to make them both singers and to integrate the music into the film in the way you did in relationship to the actresses and your casting decisions.
Yeah, I had the actresses before, so I did so many films, as I told you, with Barbara and with Katja also, and they both told me they want to play in a film together. And then I wrote the story, and they gave me the opportunity to go back to a sister story. And then I thought I might put the music in, and for both, and because they are sisters, so they have both inherited the talent from music from the mother. No. And they were both enthusiastic that they could show also this other part of their profession. And perhaps it allowed me also to come to a distance to myself a little bit. No, I didn't want to show too much of myself, but then in the end.
So, a really wonderful, moving film. Thank you very much. My question is about the character Paul, because at the end of the movie there seems to be a kind of reconciliation for everybody.
Yes.
But Paul is sort of on the side, and almost like an invalid, like somebody who can't help himself, who's sick. Did you have any particular thoughts about him, or is that just the way that it ended up?
No, he's also reconciling with this ghost of his, because when it starts, the whole story for himself and to confront himself with his own story is when he sees the photo in the newspaper, and the photo, and on the photo he found this woman who is looking like, and I think in him he knows already a little bit. He can imagine what is the reason why, but he doesn't want to know, and on the other hand he wants to know. So there's one moment when in the beginning, when both of them are looking to the photo, and Sophie says, "And you, what do you think about that?" And so he looks at him and says, "And you?" And he thinks perhaps his wife, his dead wife, had told something to her more than to himself. Yeah. So he has a feeling that there is something what he has to know, but he doesn't want to know. And so that pushes him to send his daughter. The only innocent in this whole story is the daughter, so Sophie. He doesn't know nothing. And all the others have something to hide or feel that something happened in the past what they don't want to know.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I had mistaken that because I was thinking in terms of reconciliation with living people. And so, in a way, his reconciliation is with his wife and his memories.
No, he is one who is really authoritarian, like so many men in this time. And he is architect that you couldn't. It's not said in the film. It's only that he said, "I had no time because I did a sort of competition. I had to work for that." And so he's used to command. But nevertheless, he loved his wife very, very much. That can fit together, and she finds in the brother a much more sensitive man, and tender perhaps also. And when he says, I loved your mother tyrannically, but I loved her. So that's the first time he has a sort of insight what perhaps went wrong with his love or with his marriage.
Other questions? Margaret, I had one question about when you spoke yesterday, you gave a wonderful talk about your biographical films. And you linked together Rosa Luxemburg, Vision about Hildegard von Bingen, and Hannah Arendt. And in that discussion, you talked about, or it became more evident, sort of reflecting on those films, how you have an incredible skill for humanizing these historical figures. Here you have a film that's a contemporary film, very personal, as you've shared with us. Was that the intent in going into this, was to just purely explore something that had more of a personal realm to it? Or are there other kind of larger kind of social concerns that we could consider from it in terms of the representation of Germany versus New York and some of those kinds of relationships that come out of it? Or was this really more about kind of digging into this story that's also informed other works, maybe unintentionally, but
there's not so much perhaps space to speak about Germany or about the time, but the fact that there were still these husbands who could really command over their wives. That was very common in the 50s and still in the 60s, and that you had, as women, when you were pregnant and you wanted to have an abortion, you couldn't do it in Germany. You had to go to Holland in this time. And I have a friend, a very leftist, very radical girlfriend in the past. She organized whole trips with buses with these women who wanted to make an abortion going to Holland. So that was when he says she went to Holland, and he believed her that she did it, but she didn't do it. So that was for also the was heißt Trahison, the
Betrayal.
Der Verrat, betrayal, because everybody betrayed everybody in a certain way, no?
questions? Well, if there are no other questions, we just want to extend our incredible thanks to your generosity this week.